Algebra 1B students. It's Miss Chang here. Welcome to class. Here is your warm-up. So get this down on your warm-up sheet. You can pause the video, and then when you're finished, you can unpause and check your answers, all right? All right, guys, welcome back. Here is your answers to your warm-up. You can check your work. Make sure in number 2, the absolute value is already isolated, so you can split right away because if it's a less than problem, you would use the and in between, all right? So here's what we have on the agenda for today. I'm going to give you homework answers. You're going to do, you should have already done some absolute value practice, and then we're going to go through something called literal equations. Your homework, and this is due next class, next time we meet, is a quiz review sheet for the quiz on absolute value equations and inequalities. Keep in mind you have a quiz next class, and then your blockbuster, keep in mind, is not due until after Thanksgiving, okay? So here's homework answers for the first couple problems. Pause the video and check your work. Here's homework answers for the last couple. Again, pause the video and check your work. All right, guys. So you should have a note sheet that Ms. Castiello gave you. And at the top, it asks you to define a literal equation. A literal equation is an equation whose coefficients have been replaced by letters. A coefficient is typically a number that's multiplied by a variable. So an example of a literal equation would be this. You should probably be familiar with this equation, area equals length times width, the area of a rectangle. Pause the video, get this definition down, and then you can unpause it. All right, let's go through some examples. So one thing that we're going to do with literal equations is we're going to pick a variable, and we're going to want to solve for that variable. Now, you would solve for this variable just like you would if you had numbers. Okay, so your first equation, ax plus b equals c, we want to solve that for x, so you want to get x by itself. My first step would to be subtract b from both sides. Now c and negative b are not like terms, so I would rewrite this as ax is equal to c minus b. And then I want to get x by itself, so I can actually put a square around that or something if you want. But to get rid of that a, I'm multiplying a times x. So to undo multiplication, I would divide. I would divide both sides by a. So my final answer would be x is equal to c minus b over a. All right? Second example, I want to solve for m. M is actually already isolated in this equation. A minus b equals m is by itself. So I'm actually going to change this. Let's say we want to solve for a. If I wanted to solve for a, please change this on your paper as well. If I wanted to solve for a, I wanted to get a by itself. Here's my a. What am I doing with the a? I'm subtracting b from it. To undo subtraction, I would add to both sides. So I would have a is equal to m plus b. And now a is isolated. All right, so an equation in two variables such as 3x plus 2y equals 8, or a formula in two or more variables such as a is equal to 1/2 b times h, can be rewritten so that one variable is a function of the other. So for example, write 3x plus 2y equals 8 so that y is a function of x. So what does this mean? It means that we want to solve for y. We want y to be a function of x. We want to be able to have y by itself, all right? So here's my y. That's when I want to get by itself. To get that by itself, I would want to get rid of this 3x. And I can do that by subtracting 3x from both sides. So I have 2y is equal to negative 3x plus 8. Now I still want to get that y by itself. I want to undo that division, that multiplication. To do that, I would divide both sides by 2. So I have y is equal to negative 3x plus 8 over 2. Now this can be further simplified. I can write this as y is equal to negative 3 over 2x plus 8 over 2. And 8 over 2 is really 4. So my function would be y is equal to negative 3 over 2x plus 4. Next example. You pause the video and please try this one. So write 5x plus 4y equals 20 so that y is a function of x. In other words, solve the equation for y, okay? All right, guys, welcome back. So here's the answer. This function has been solved for y. So you can check your work. You can see that you subtract 5x from both sides, and then you'll divide both sides by 4. And then final answer, make sure you separate and simplify the 20 over 4, okay? All right, so let's look at some applications. The area of a triangle is given by the formula A is equal to 1/2 base times height, where B is the base and H is the height. Solve the formula for the height H. So we want to get H by itself. So I'm going to recopy A is equal to 1/2 BH. And I want to get H by itself, okay? So I want to get rid of the 1/2 and the B. Now I'm multiplying all three of these together. So what I can do to get rid of this 1/2 is I can multiply by 2 over 1, kind of like clearing fractions with our equations that we've worked with in the past. If I multiply both sides by 2 over 1, these 2's cancel, so I have 2a is equal to b times h. Now I still want to get h by itself, so I can divide both sides by b. So I have 2a over b is equal to h. All right, that was part A. So part B, I want to use the rewritten formula to find the height of the triangle, which has an area of 64.4 square meters. All right? So we know, they tell us that the base was 14, and we know that the area is 64.4. So we're going to plug in the two variables that they gave us. All right, guys, so I'm going to plug in 2a over b equals h. I'm going to plug in my area and my base. So 2 times 64.4 over 14 equals h. Make sense? So when I multiply 2 times 64.4, I get 128.8 over 14. And then when I divide by 14, I get 9.2 equals h. Now, the units were given to me in meters, so I know that this height is going to be 9.2 meters. All right? All right, so pause the video, and now you can try this problem, which is very similar to the one we just went through. All right, guys, welcome back. So you should have finished this example, and now you can check your work to find, to solve for W in part A, and then you should have plugged in the given perimeter and the given length, and you can solve for the width, which should have been 2.4 feet. All right, guys, at this point, flip over on the back of your notes. You have 2.8 practice, all right? Please work with a partner on that, okay? You can always check your answers with Miss Castiello. She does have an answer key for you. And then when you're finished, you should be able to answer this question. You need to be able to define what a literal equation is and tell me the difference between a less than type of a problem and a greater than type of a problem when we're talking about absolute value inequalities, all right? Also, just as a quick reminder, you can pause the video at this point. Here's the homework. Make sure you get the quiz review worksheet. You do have a quiz on absolute value equations and inequalities next week, all right? Thanks so much. Have a good one.